Hey, mommies! Welcome to Positive Parenting, navigating the digital world and the new normal. So, to those who don't know me yet, my name is Mami MK. I'm the CEO and founder of Filipina Home Based Moms. I'm very excited to introduce you to our host, Michelle Fojas, who is the communications manager of Facebook Philippines, and of course, to our guest speakers and experts who will be answering your questions about digital parenting and child safety. I'm confident that you will learn a lot from them so we could teach our kids, the toddlers and teens, on how they can be safe, especially during this pandemic that everyone is online. Of course, I would like to thank Facebook, Child Rights Network, Stay Aware Foundation, Parenting for Lifelong Health Project, and Pinoy Home Based Dads for making this virtual event possible and for the insights and resources that they will be sharing in this 1 hour live session. Also, please watch until the end for a chance to win an FH Moms online course. All right, Michelle, take it away.
Thank you, Thank you, MK. So, like she said, I'm from Facebook. I'm with Facebook's communications team, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. But before anything else, I'm going to quickly hand this over to my colleague, Clara Amador, Facebook Philippines Head of Public Policy, for something really exciting that she's going to share with us today.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. As we all know, the Philippines continues to be under community quarantine for everyone's safety. And we've been staying at home for the past 5 months and finding ways to cope. So some of us have found new hobbies, some joined various online workouts, and some may have been growing plants and are now certified plantitos and plantitas. For many of us, however, we just can't wait to go outside again and meet our friends in person and just to be able to casually walk around. But what does this all mean for kids? How are they coping? So for kids, the quarantine means there are no school activities, no parks, no playgrounds, no sleepovers, and they are refrained from exploring and playing outside of their house. And the most challenging part of this is they might not fully understand why. So in the course of our work, we've heard that parents are finding it difficult to share the full extent of what's happening. How do you explain the COVID-19 pandemic to children? We've also heard that as children are staying home, they are spending more time on the internet. So with the upcoming school, that can only mean a lot more time will be spent online. That's why the Child Rights Network, Stairway Foundation, and Facebook came together to help parents teach their children about staying safe at home and online. So together, we've created the GIF Learning Library. This is a series of GIF animated stories that are colorful and fun and all made for enjoyable shared reading. So here's a quick video to show you how fun they are. So today we are releasing two stories in the Learning Library, Stuck in a Castle and Pwede Ba I-Click To? These stories would teach kids why they must stay home to stay safe and how to stay safe online. And these will be made available in both English and Filipino, and you can check them out at the Child Rights Network Facebook page and Instagram profile. So we hope that you will find these GIF storybooks helpful and fun to share with your kids and the rest of the family. And so Facebook would like to thank our amazing partners who joined us in this journey in developing stories for our children. Child's Rights Network, Stairway Foundation, and BBDO Guerrero. And we'd also like to thank FH Moms for hosting us today, and to our amazing set of panelists, MK and Jim, Dr. Lian, Ace, and Amber for joining us today. So I would like to end with a reminder to stay safe at home and stay safe online. Maraming salamat. Back to Supermom Michelle.
Thank you so much, Claire. I hope that all of you at home can find the time to check out the GIF storybooks. Like Claire said, these are all going to be available for you for free. All you have to do is go to the Facebook and Instagram pages of the Child Rights Network. Just go and search for @CRN Philippines. So now, on to the exciting part of our program. I am really, really excited to be here because today we're going to talk to experts on child safety and development about some of the questions, the burning questions that are keeping you and me and all of us parents up at night in this pandemic. Over the weekend, we've asked FH moms and PH dads to tell us what questions and topics that you'd like for us to cover with our panelists today. And so that is exactly what we're going to do in the next 30 minutes or so. We'll be talking about the challenges and maybe some of the opportunities of being a digital parent in the time of crisis. We'll also explore short-term and long-term strategies so together with our children, we can cope and also hopefully thrive even in the midst of so much change and uncertainty. So we shall get started now by welcoming our panelists. Allow me to introduce them to you. Our first panelists, or let me say our first two panelists, because they come as a couple, are parents to, first of all, they're parents to their 5-year-old son, Monkey, and also familiar to most of you watching us today. They are the founders of FH Moms and PH Dads. So they started FH Moms in 2017 to help mothers gain financial security and personal growth through home-based livelihood opportunities. From its beginnings as a Facebook community, FH Moms has since grown to be a platform offering e-learning, e-commerce, and job matching opportunities. Meanwhile, the partner is MK's partner is her loving husband Jim, who's also the co-founder of PH Dads, the largest freelancing community in the Philippines for dads by dads. So please welcome everyone. Please let's welcome MK and Jim Verdugo.
Hi! Thank you so much, Michelle, for the introduction.
Hey guys.
Our next panelist is from Facebook, and she works with NGOs and policymakers across the region to continuously improve Facebook's policies, products, tools, and resources to keep the Facebook community safe. Before joining Facebook, she was the founding chief executive of the Australian partner of the International Justice Mission. She's also a mother of 3 children, 1 girl and 2 boys. Please welcome Amber Hawks, APAC Head of Safety for Facebook. Our next panelist is a professor of psychology at the Ateneo de Manila University. She's a developmental psychologist with research focused on parenting and its association with child and adolescent development outcomes and interventions for children and families at risk. She's a mother of 4 children aged between 9 and 19. Please welcome Dr. Lian Alampay, Philippines Principal Investigator of Parenting for Lifelong Health. Our last but certainly not the least panelist for today has been working in the field of child protection for 18 years. He's one of the pioneers on the issues of child online protection in the Philippines and has conducted early research and prevention programs on the issues of online sexual abuse and exploitation of children. He works with key government agencies in the Philippines advocating for child protection policy and program changes. Also a father to 2 kids aged 8 and 11. Please welcome Mr. Israel Ace Diloy, the Senior Advocacy Officer of Stairway Foundation.
Hi everyone, good afternoon.
Now, thank you so much. I'll start by saying thanks to our panelists for joining us today. And maybe to kick us off, we'll start by talking about the challenges first, that parents in your groups have been experiencing or sharing in FH moms and PH dads. Maybe MK and Jim can share more about this.
Hi, Michelle. So there are a few things that our members in FH Moms and PH Dads are experiencing, which is making sure that the content uh, that our kids consume are safe. And then we also have a thread, a previous discussion that we have in the community where moms shared the behavior um, of their kids. As per my son Monkey, who is 5 year old now, he keeps on shouting like daily. So we're not sure what's happening. Maybe he's just at home. So those things that maybe affected his behavior and emotions during this pandemic. How about you, Jim? What are the challenges in your community and PH dads?
Oh yes, one of the challenges mentioned by the community, particularly the dads that have daughters, is it's regards to the abundance of sexual predators and unsolicited advances made by complete strangers to their daughters in social media. So it's they're really afraid of what of these advances. They consider these as threats, and they really want to know how they can protect their daughters more. So yeah, that's one of the main challenges that we have in the community.
Thank you, MK and Jim, for sharing this with us. I think throughout the course of our discussion, we'll cover much of these. We'll cover all of these and also check in with our experts in the panel to give us, like more insight around how we can deal with these situations. So I think for starters, one of the things that many parents have likewise expressed, no, whether in FH moms or others, I also see that first things first, it's really how do I explain to my kids what this pandemic is about? And, when you are with small children, preschoolers, or the younger ones, what is too little and what is too much to share? Maybe Dr. Lian you can share your thoughts on this, please.
Hi, yes. Thank you for that question, Michelle. And it's true, no? Kids are naturally perceptive creatures, no? They know when things aren't quite right, when their routines have changed, and why am I in an extended summer vacation? What's going on? So some kids will really have questions, and some kids might be simply curious, and others might be more worried or anxious, no? So my first recommendation really is for parents to be observant about their children's emotions and to listen, no, when their kids have questions, to not dismiss kids when they ask questions about the pandemic. It's easy for us to dismiss, no, because they're, you don't understand, no, but rather we have to do our best, no, to address those questions and to do so in a way that's fitting for their developmental level, meaning in ways and in words that they could comprehend. And I think the resources, no, that Claire talked about earlier are really great because parents could use these resources as strategies, as inputs for how to talk to their kids in plain and simple language about what the virus is. Why is it that they cannot hug and kiss their lolo and lola at this time? To explain that the virus is very contagious, like a really bad case of the colds, and that older people are more vulnerable. And so we want to keep everyone safe, our loved ones safe, and so we have to stay home, for the time being. But then to end on a positive note, to make sure that we reassure our kids that there are doctors and scientists and other people who are actively finding solutions to this pandemic, and that this is not a situation that will go on forever, so that there is hope. No? So in every conversation with kids, try to end on a positive note, no? Not to add to their anxiety, but rather to end with a feeling of hope, no? And that things will turn out better eventually.
I think that Dr. Lian really raised a good point around, how important it is to be able to deliver something that might be grim. No, I mean, not necessarily the best news or best piece of news to deliver to our children, but also that positive delivery is something that I think, parents should be mindful of. And I understand that Amber, Facebook, and Stairway Foundation and the Child Rights Network has worked with BBDO in order to produce and create these GIF storybooks. Can you talk us through a little about the process, how you got into this, and what was Facebook's role in this, in creating the storybooks?
Yeah, absolutely. I can really relate to what Dr. Leanne is saying. My kids are 5, 9, and 11. And so the way that they react to this situation is very different. And obviously, the language that I use to share with them about what's happening is very different too, and depending on their personalities. And so, we recognize that not only are we in this unique situation where parents are finding it challenging to speak with their kids about this, but that kids are at home and they're online more often as well, whether that be for education or for entertainment while parents are working and engaging online. So we really feel like it is important from our perspective. We have a responsibility to do what we can to keep the teens that are on our platforms safe, but also to provide parents with the tools to actually engage in these conversations. And so that's how we came about teaming up with our partners here. And we operate like that in much of our work on child safety with our expert partners on the ground who are informing what we do and the resources that we put out. And as was already said, we were hoping here to develop an animated, catchy resource that is at the level that a child will engage with, but obviously engage with their parents. So it's the parents, utilizing these resources as conversation starters with their children, giving them positive and accurate information for us to use. I would use it as well with my kids to initiate those conversations. And then in the coming weeks, we'll be sharing more stories about other topics on internet safety, and then also providing toolkits and coloring books, ways that parents can engage kids in these topics online.
It's really exciting stuff. Can't wait to see and be able to share this with my kids as well. I want to just go back a little to some of the things that MK shared earlier about some of the behavioral changes that the community has observed with some of their children. So I wanted to check in again with Dr. Leanne. Like an example that MK shared was, kids shouting more or being a bit more hyperactive. Is that something that we should be worried about, or something that you think, what can we do? Should we be talking to them about it, or any strategies that you could share?
Yeah, that's such a simple behavior, shouting more often than before, but there are complex, there's so much to unpack, because there are several reasons why a 5-year-old might be all of a sudden shouting more often. It could be that they are releasing a lot of energy at home that they are not otherwise able to release outside, when they're playing, when they're running around, when they're cooped up in the house, then that's a lot of pent-up energy. So I would suggest that parents be tolerant of energetic activities at home. If you have young kids, to try as much as you're able to have that space and that time for kids to play actively. If you have a garage, allow them to have outside time every day, to see the sun, and I see Monkey there, and really express that energy. On the other hand, shouting might also be emotional, meaning there could be an element of frustration there, okay? And kids may be unable to express frustration in words, and so they shout, when they want to see their friends, when they want to play and they can't go out. So I would also suggest to parents to be observant and to be mindful when kids are expressing negative emotions, and to acknowledge that, So rather than shutting it down, to acknowledge and say, I see anak that, it seems you're frustrated, and I understand that it's frustrating that you can't play with your kids. Or your teenager, no, who's moody and nagdadabog, no? Naintindihan ko anak, I understand why you're angry, no, that you can't meet up with your friends in the mall, no? So to acknowledge those negative feelings and to support positive ways for them to cope, no? So what might help, no? Talking to your child about what would help them feel better, no, about not seeing their friends. Do they want to write a letter? Do they want to draw a picture? Do they want to have a chat online with their friends? Something MK mentioned earlier is organizing online play dates, no? And you can do that for kids, and you can do that for teens. So those are some responses, no, I have in mind to that, to those behavior changes, no, such as shouting more frequently.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lian. I think those are really concrete, strategies, and marami tayong pwedeng gawin para ma-encourage natin our kids to be, I guess, just like us, right? Just like us parents, we could also be in a situation where we feel like screaming. On some days, you also feel like screaming. I can imagine it might be the same for our kids, and that importance of being heard and being acknowledged, that those feelings are okay, even if it doesn't feel like it's okay. So yeah, thank you for that. I think now I want to move on to one of the things that MK also mentioned earlier about concerns around safety, right? Like being online, and sort of, we know that being online now means that they get to do things for school, socializing. More of that, more and more of our activities, including our kids' activities, are all online. Given the pandemic, I wanted to check in with ACE for Stairway. What would you say are some of your focus areas now as an organization, and maybe your thoughts on the best way for parents and guardians to be supportive of children who are now distance learning, no, day in, day out into their computers, and how can we ensure that our children are, staying safe while accessing all these things online?
Thanks for the question, Michelle. Well, we focus really on child protection, and one aspect is on cyber safety or online safety. And in the course of the pandemic, we've received many inquiries with regards to how to better protect children in the context of cyber safety during this pandemic. And of course, these are all internet connected, whether it's for the purposes of distance learning or just children's surfing the internet. The first step I would like to share would be first from the parent side. Um, Parents should try to bridge the digital divide. And when I say the digital divide, it's not only about the tech component. It's not being experts in technology, but rather for parents to overcome the challenge of trying to understand why kids are doing this online, why kids enjoy technology, why kids like to go online. And the purpose of this is not to be experts per se as adults, but rather to be in a better position to have that close conversation with children. Because at the end of the day, child protection is also about maintaining that close, nurturing relationship between guardians, parents, and children. Um, in terms of staying safe online generally, well, it really depends on the family context and more appropriately based on the developmental ages of children. So, for example, if we're talking about younger children, below 12, for example, we can employ certain tech-based interventions such as filtering, putting in blocking software, making sure that whatever apps or content they consume are age appropriate and we get them from appropriate sources. But aside from the tech-based solutions, we should start building up children's protective behavior at an early age. So even with younger children, you can teach them about maintaining body integrity, talking about their private body parts. And these skills translate in different environments, whether it's offline or online. The concept of strangers, what you do with strangers offline is the same thing online. You don't talk to them as young children. No? When we go to the teenage years, for example, of course, we relax the tech-based interventions because teenagers, they have more autonomy in terms of their online life. So we concentrate more on the protective behavior. So of course, we still talk about strangers, but we have to take into account that some teenagers might be talking to strangers, and we just have to build up their protective behavior in terms of what are unsafe online interactions, protecting their personal information. And this includes images of their bodies and making sure that they know who to go to if they need help, if they feel unsafe or uncomfortable online. Well, regardless of the age range, really, what's important is that we discuss children's safety in a continuum, because offline child protection is linked to online child protection. Now, last is on the school. Of course, we have academic concerns when it comes to school, but safety should be something on top of our list of priorities. So, one concrete thing that you as a parent can ask to the school of your child is, what are the measures or policies that the schools are taking into consideration to make the interaction between school personnel and the students safer in the online environment? So, do they have code of conduct? Do they have online or social media policies in place? I believe the Department of Education is working on something already in the lines of online child safeguarding policies. So while we're waiting for that, I think as parents, you have the power to influence the school of your child to think about these things by asking those appropriate questions. So, yeah, from the top of my head, those are some of the things that I can think of in line with your question, Michelle.
Thanks for sharing that, Ace. You mentioned earlier something about the digital divide. And I know that sometimes it can be challenging for parents. I know for me it is, because I can't tell between manga and manhwa. I can't tell between all these things that they're doing now. But, sometimes, especially like you mentioned, one thing that has been recurring, like a recurring theme around this discussion that we're having is the importance of communication and constantly being in touch with your child so that you understand exactly, how they feel or what they're doing online and all these things. But the tech divide, that part of it is something that might be tricky when you want to keep tabs with what your kids are doing or are up to online. So maybe Amber, could you share your thoughts from your experience with your kids and also sort of the tools that you're familiar with that can be used around, just checking in on your kids online?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a challenge for all of us, and for me in particular, one of the key things early on is thinking through what technology they have access to and whether that's appropriate for their age. And so, for services that like Facebook, we don't allow children under 13 years of age on our services. And so something that I think parents can do easily is be aware of that and not encourage, kids below that age to actually be on our services, and to understand like what are the tools and resources available online that teens and the parents themselves can actually use to protect themselves. And one of those things is, of course, the privacy and security settings that are on accounts. And this is one of the reasons why it's so important for the teens to use their age, because we actually have enhanced protections for teenagers that are built in. As a company, we take child safety very seriously, and we have strict policies against any kind of exploitation content and inappropriate interactions with children. But we also have this tooling that actually sets up protections for these teens. And so encouraging your kids to use these settings, to actually understand what it means to have a public post and post content publicly versus to a private audience or to their friends. And for a teen account, by default that would be set to private, and they wouldn't be sharing their location by default or sharing their personal information by default. So that's really important important to understand. Also, skills around reporting content online are very important. It's not hard, but it's actually imperative that we all learn to report any offensive content or inappropriate contact, to block people that make, you know, your child feel uncomfortable online. And, you know, as A said, like, not to connect with people that they don't know. So, you know, for my children, you know, we've had that conversation just as offline. If I was expecting them to get on a bus, you know, get a bus ticket, get on a bus and go from one place to the other, I would be also equipping them with an understanding of what the risks are on that journey. And you know, having that conversation beforehand, before they actually get on the bus, not after they've come back from the bus trip. So I think that that's the key, keeping the communication lines open, and having the conversation as they start to use or go into new areas in terms of their technology use. And so, you know, from our perspective, we want to equip parents to be able to do that. And so we have a very comprehensive safety center. You can look it up at facebook.com/safety. And it, in fact, has a parents portal with tips that are created by parenting experts about, you know, how to establish healthy online habits to begin with, and how to start having these conversations with your children. And we're always improving that content, and really grateful also to be able to engage in these kinds of discussions here and work with our partners to take in more advice and hear from you all, in fact, that are listening today on what are their concerns and what are the resources that you need that would be helpful to support you in this journey with your kids online.
Thanks, Amber. From what you shared and what Asa shared, I feel like, you know, keeping our kids safe online, it's really part vigilance, and also a large part of it, which is, I know, mahirap, hard, but also worth doing, is really to educate ourselves about all the tools that are available or at our disposal, for us to, you know, keep tabs with our children and what they're doing, what they're up to online. So I will move on to a very somewhat controversial topic now on screen time. Now that, you know, much of our interactions, even our kids' interactions these days are all online na. A birthday party, video calling with lolos and lolas, you know, and even the schools, right? That's anywhere between 2 to 4 hours of virtual schooling. Araw-araw yon. How do we find that balance between screen time and off-screen quality time at home? Kasi pre-pandemic, no, ang forever parenting mantra na naririnig ko, or some other people or also parents, they keep saying that we should be limiting screen time. So now maybe I'd like to hear Dr. Lian and maybe Ace's perspective around this.
Yeah, just to link it with the bridge that divide between parents and children when it comes to technology and devices. I think one way to bridge that divide is to change our mindset about device use, no, and technology use. The research has really veered away from worrying about screen time. Okay, it's not about the sheer hours you spend online, although that has risks, you know, for your eyesight, for your sleep, etc. But rather, not all online content is equal. No? Some online content is better than others. So what matters more than screen time is what people do when they're using their screens. Are they engaging with developmentally appropriate content that is positive and educational? Are they being socially interactive online? Are they learning new things online? Okay? So I think to the extent that the quality is high, no, and that children are engaged socially and are learning new things, then we don't have to be too worried about time spent online. But that said, no, balance is still key. We still need to designate times and places where we should not have devices so that they also have opportunities to interact with real people, no, with humans in their household, no. So, for example, setting meal times as device-free times, no phones, no anything internet while you're all sitting together to share a meal, or no devices, no more screen time an hour before bedtime. No, try to do something else. Have a movie night, have a game night. No, are they reading? Are they doing art, doing other things that are physical, no, outside of their devices? And then the last point would be, as mentioned by Ace and by Amber, is to always have a conversation with your kids about what they're doing online. No? I want to say, no, that online activities could also be a venue for parents and kids to share fun things together. My kids love talking about Minecraft with me. I don't understand it, but I'm amazed at what they can do on Minecraft. Or we share funny videos on TikTok, no? And that could be a fun time between parents and kids. And that's okay, no? So if they see that you're open to what they're doing online and you're interested, then they're more likely to disclose things to you that they're uncomfortable with online, no? So they're seeing something online that worries them or they're scared about, then they could share that with you because they see that you're open to sharing things with them online. So that's my take on screen time, Michelle.
Thank you, Dr. Lian. Maybe Ace, you could chime in as well.
Yeah, sure. So aside from what Dr. Lian mentioned, well, my our son is also on Minecraft. So he talks about Minecraft endlessly all throughout the day. Well, aside from what Dr. Lian mentioned, I think another aspect that we should not forget is the aspect of role modeling for parents. It's very inappropriate to impose certain rules on children, but then they see things differently from adults. So, for example, if you say that during dinner time or at a certain period of the day that there should be no device usage, then parents should also follow that rule because it should be a family rule then. Another thing, aside from, I agree with Dr. Lian that it's not really about the length of time right now, but it's the quality of the content is also as children shift to distance learning and online learning, it's of course it's expected that their time spent online in terms of education will increase. We should make sure that we're not fixated on time, because if you say only 4 hours screen time, that would potentially take up just the school time. Children need leisure time online. This is a reality. So it has to be a certain balance with that. So you have developmentally appropriate educational screen time, but children also need time to go have fun online, just checks out stuff that they do enjoy. So it has to be a certain balance of those things. And of course, there's no formula for it. Each family would have different familial context. So you have to discover it together with your child, what works or what doesn't work.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ace. Sorry. I think I totally agree with the points that you raised, and maybe I can go back to MK and Jim as well and check in with, what are your strategies now that there's your child Monkey has he been online much, or are you limiting screen time? From your experience, what has worked? Maybe you could share with us some of your hacks around this.
In the past, since the pandemic started, a few things that we've done are scheduling game nights. So few of the games that Monkey really enjoyed is the guessing game, or what's that? What do you call that, Jim? What's that? What's that called?
Pictionary.
Pictionary. Oh yeah, right. Pictionary, and then the other one is like Marco Polo. So we play that a lot, and then we all Jim also bought for games. What's that called, Jim?
So I,
It's a
I
family.
purchased a console that lets us play as a family. So there are tasks in the game that we have to row together. So it helps Monkey to play with others, even if it's just us or his parents. So it teaches him about teamwork. Also, there are mini games inside the game that will help him with math, because he needs to count, and there's also a memory game, so it's very interactive.
And also, that also serves as my break time because I work a lot. I also enjoyed playing with Monkey using that console because I don't play any games at all. So it's only Jim and Monkey usually plays video games. So it's so fun every time we would play together. Aside from that, what else do we do? So, we've been buying a lot of toys in online stores since the pandemic started, and we do like DIYs as well together with Monkey. We bought several coloring materials or art materials for him. So those things. What else? What else did we do,
Yeah.
Jim?
In addition to the art set, we also purchase boxing gloves and boxing mitts. So I'm training Monkey to box, so he can spend his energy since we can't go out. So that helps a lot,
That
to
sounds
relieve
really
stress.
fun.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun. And I know that you guys have been doing some of these things in along your community for play dates and whatnot. Can you talk more about, those programs that you're running to help some of to help the parents that are in your community?
We scheduled a virtual play date. So the kids are playing around in Messenger video call. So it's really fun because there are filters and then activities for the kids in Messenger. So they really love that. And then another thing that the kids are excited about, especially the teens, is the digital bootcamp that we're planning to organize, or it will be done by October. So it's interesting because we learned that a lot of our moms are looking for a program or an activity that they can check so that they could support the digital skills of of their kids. So there's something happened, not in our community, but in another Facebook group that where a 12-year-old girl got bullied because of selling logo designs for a very low price using a graphic design tool. Maybe people don't know that she's just 12 years old. So because of that, we decided, we got inspired to start this digital bootcamp. We even interviewed that a 12-year-old girl about her experience on bullying, and but it's good to know that she keeps on doing what she loves to do despite of what happened.
I'm so sorry to hear that was an experience, but that one of your community members um, had online. But I'm also happy to hear that you were able to support them through your community, and that just goes to show that how parenting, in a way takes a village. Like it really literally takes a village. And I'm grateful for, communities like um, PH dads and FH moms, so that parents like me or anyone can just simply ask for help if whenever that's needed. So I wanted to throw this question to Ace. Um, one of the things about one of the things that MK mentioned earlier today was that it's the worrying about access to content, right? Like it's really um, now that they're spending more time online, part of that is, apart from learning things or the opportunities to grow as a person while you're exposed to all sorts of things online, a part of it is also that risk for potentially age inappropriate content or some things that could bother a child. Do you have any advice on how we should be safeguarding or helping safeguard our kids from that kind of experience?
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, we have to empower children to help them discern whether a certain content is safe or unsafe for them. The reality is, whatever technological safeguards we implement, for example, filtering or blocking software at home, a determined child will always find ways to access certain content, right? So they are more tech savvy than us. So a more sustainable way to go about it is to actually empower children to build up their protective behavior so that they themselves can tell if a certain content is appropriate or inappropriate for them. But one key thing, of course, is not to just tell children this is inappropriate, this is bawal, this is prohibited, because try to remember our generation. Whenever we ask our parents back then, so why is this stuff not for me? Our parents would just tell us, basta, no, it's just not right for you, and then they will leave us hanging. So we must tell children and have them in a journey of discovery in order for them to realize why certain contents are inappropriate for them in a safe manner, and how, so we have to go about it in a safe and empowering manner. Let's learn from our mistakes as a generation before. Okay, children need more information right now. If information doesn't come from us as parents, they will get to access this from other sources, which unfortunately might not be safe. So yes, it comes back to us as parents.
Thank you, Ace. I think we have time for a final question for all of our panelists. I have one final question for all of you. I think thank you so much for this really insightful discussion on the number of risks and also, the challenges and strategies that we could take at this time. But to end our discussion, I'd really like to look forward a bit and to the future and really ask you guys, what do you think are the opportunities you're seeing for both parents and children in this new normal, right? I mean, what are the ways or sort of strategies that you think we could take so that we could nurture our kids so that they don't just survive this with us, but hopefully also thrive in the process? Any final advice? Maybe I can start with Amber and then Dr. Lian and then Ace.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I'm hopeful. I think this situation, it is a challenge, but it provides us with an opportunity. I think as a parent, being inside and being at home with my kids more enables me actually to have those conversations and maybe be a little bit more aware potentially of what's going on than I was before. And so in a way, that's a big opportunity for me to engage. And I think in terms of the digital world, I think that there's two opportunities. One is that we have this opportunity to encourage our kids to be quite creative in the way that they are coming up with sort of new things to ways to learn or new things to do or create, and to actually look online for inspiration and ideas, and then take that into their own lives and see what they can build out of it and what ideas they can connect to each other to adapt and sort of become more resilient in this environment. And I'm personally convinced that those skills are going to serve them really well in the future at some point, even though it's really hard at the moment. And then the other side for me is having the opportunity to speak to my kids about how they're reacting to stuff that they are seeing online. I love Ace's example just then where he said, like, as soon as our parents just told us, like, it's just not for you. Well, that's just like a red flag to a bull, isn't it? It's like, oh, I have to look at it now, because what is it that it makes it like not for me? And one of the ways I'm finding that's really helpful is, to have that conversation, discuss with my kids, oh, like, this just happened. A friend just said this to you online. Like, how did you feel when that happened? How did that make you feel? And helping them to sort of build empathy into their engagements and understanding how it actually, things that they see and things that they do actually impact on their mental health and their physical health, and then helping them think through things that are going to help them with that. Well, okay, why don't you take a break now? And what could you do to help yourself feel better? And next time, how would you behave when you were engaging with someone online? So I feel like all of these are real opportunities. And for me, it's like, seize the day, let's do it now. Because as soon as this is over, we all go back to our very busy lives. And, you know, we might not have this opportunity again.
Thank you, Amber, for sharing that. Maybe I can move on to Dr. Lian.
Yeah, I really want to reinforce a lot of what Amber just said. I think this is a really unique time for families because we're together more than ever. And so it's a good time to learn new things about each other, and a good opportunity to be open to new ways of doing things. You know, the reality is we can't have the same routines and you know, household rules that we might have had before the pandemic. So I would suggest that parents remain flexible and open, you know, to innovating the ways they do things at home. But yes, not to take advantage of opportunities for more closeness between parents and kids. And I also want to say that parents should take care of themselves. Throughout this webinar, we've been focusing a lot on kids and digital safety, but you know, the resilience of our kids, the well-being of our kids can only go so far if the parents themselves are not well. Okay, so take time when you feel stressed. Take time to seek support from your community, seek help from your extended family, take time for yourself, okay? Because when kids see that you're coping well with these uncertain times, then they will also cope well. No, they take so much security and reassurance from their parents, okay? So try to be positive and hopeful and seek support, no, when you need it. Because it's the final words, now I also want to say that we also have a number of resources in Parenting for Lifelong Health. So I invite all the participants in the webinar today to look at our Facebook page. It's Masayang Pamilya, Parenting for Lifelong Health. And you will see a lot of resources for parents also to help them and support them during this time of the pandemic. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lian. Now maybe we can move on to Ace.
Hi, thanks, Michelle. I'll take a different, well, related but kind of different path in terms of the final words. I'll be talking as a dad. Jim and I are dad, of course, and this is a parenting webinar, and I want to talk to the dads in the webinar. So my final piece of advice is for the fathers listening here. So I think we as men, as fathers, should really take an active part in parenting. Let's try to move away from the traditional notion that schooling, emotions, positive discipline, and nurturing is only the wife's role. No, it is a parent's role, and we are parents. So we can really influence our children to eventually grow up to be better citizens by being good role models to them. And what better way to show it by just showing them that as fathers, we also have an active part in the whole parenting stuff. The resources that Facebook launched, the storybook, the GIFs, these are great starting points to discuss cyber safety with your children. And I understand that sometimes it's too scary to talk about it because this is a very taboo subject, the aspect of abuse of children online, etc. So the GIFs and storybooks are good starting points for discussion. And that's it. These are starting points. And the key is to continue the conversation. So as a segue, of course, to further help you in that process, to supplement the storybooks and GIFs, I'd also like to point you to some resources that Stairway Foundation prepared for parents. So you can just go to this slide. You can see in this slide the www.cybersafe.asia. We have some resources on child safety, which directly complements the storybooks and GIFs which Facebook launched. And there are certain parent-focused materials there. So please just check it out, www.cybersafe.asia. And so with that, I wish everyone a safe and sane pandemic quarantine period.
Thank you so much, Ace. And now I just want to go back to MK and Jim for any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share to the community who's been with us this whole afternoon.
Thanks, Michelle. So I really appreciate all the tips that were shared by our guest speakers today. This will be very helpful, especially for the first time parents like me and for those parents who are not that techy. So for all the moms in our community, both in FH moms and PH dads, just continue on exploring different strategies that you learned in this webinar about digital parenting and child safety. I think what's happening now is an opportunity for us parents to enjoy the time that we're locked down at home so that we can spend more time with our kids. I really love what Dr. Lian mentioned that you can play games and start dancing in TikTok together with your kids. That's really fun bonding moments with them. So if they have any potential with any digital skills such as drawing or vlogging, there are a lot of ways on how we could support them, such as helping them in editing their videos or enrolling them in any online classes. I guess for child safety, it's best if Jim could share any tips about that because last night we've been thinking about ways on how we could give you tips and hacks. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, regarding the parental control apps, there are a ton online. Some are paid. So, well, I really can't discuss that right now, but we will make a post about it after this webinar. And parting words would be, I guess, for dads, as Ace said, it's time for you guys, or it's time for us to step up, take an active part in nurturing our children. I mean, we got nowhere else to go, so might as well build a chair, with the kids, build a table, teach them how to cook, basic stuff, right? Not everything's supposed to be digital. Let's go back to basics. And that's it.
Thank you, MK and Jim. And that wraps up our panel discussion today. I want to say thanks again. I've been thanking everyone so many times today, but I am really grateful for this discussion that we've had. Thanks to our panelists and to our FH moms and PH dads and all of you watching this from your homes for spending this afternoon with us. I hope that you found this session to be as insightful as I have, and that we have helped you ease some of your concerns around parenting in a pandemic. And parenting, it does take a village, and it's really comforting to know that we can find villages wherever they are and stay connected online even while we're all being asked to stay physically apart. So there, to formally close our program, I'd like to call on Sue An Chung for her closing remarks today.
All right. Thank you, Michelle, for moderating a lively and insightful discussion with our panel of experts. To close today's session, we wanted to reinforce the importance of building community at this time of pandemic and the importance of parents supporting other parents. People have always come to Facebook's apps to connect with the community they know well, be it friends or family and family. But over time, it has become more than that. It's a place to connect with neighbors, colleagues, and people around the world who share common interests and experiences. Through these connections, people can learn, explore, and do more together. One of the main places where people do this today is in Facebook groups. More than 400 million people already belong to a group that they find meaningful, and there are tens of millions of active groups on Facebook on nearly every topic imaginable. Communities like Filipino home-based moms and Pinoy home-based dads use our platform to be closer to the people and topics they care about. Today's session on navigating the new normal is an example of supporting each other in the community to facilitate safe discussions on an important topic. It is also an important part of bringing the world closer together by supporting the leaders who have fostered these communities, just as how MK and Jim have with their respective mom and dad communities, a space where people offer encouragement, connect people, and drive change. Through these connections you find on your platform, we hope that you can learn, explore, and do more together, even as we are all mandated to be physically staying apart. We are grateful to have shared this afternoon of learning with you, and we hope that you enjoyed it and that you are able to take away some important strategies that could guide you as you support your family in this truly challenging time. Thank you, and we look forward to continuing this conversation with you.
And we're done. Yay!
Thank you so